Hello,
everybody, and welcome to
皆さん。
Atheist Sunday School.
Atheist Sunday School にしましょうね。
Your one-stop shop for everything Atheist
Atheist
Sunday
Sunday
and school. And boy, do we have
Boy,
a
do we
show,
have a show
for you today. Today, we are
Covering
covering Luke chapters 22 through 24.
We're finishing Luke. It's gonna be over. I'm so ready to move on to the book we really should have started with.
You mean John?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's everyone's favorite.
No, that's what I've heard. I've heard that people really like John because it's got that whole, that John 3:16 part.
Yeah, it's the most famous verse in the Bible.
Yeah, so famous that Stone Cold Steve Austin had to, he had the whole Austin 3:16 promo.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you seen that?
No.
Okay, well, it was during a King of the Ring tournament. He just won it, and he beat Jake the Snake Roberts. And he's cutting a promo, and he's like, "Yo, you thump your Bible, you talk about John 3:16. Well, Austin 3:16 says I just whipped your ass." And
wow.
That yeah. So very very legendary promo. And that's just been on T-shirts for forever now.
Well, I'm proud of him.
Me too. Glad he did that.
You know what, Lawrence?
What?
King James no Bible ga arimasu.
Okay, I'm not entirely sure what you said other than King James Bible. But
the best.
I
Clearly the superior version.
I have the English Standard Version of the Bible.
Well, I have the Jewish Annotated New Testament and the NIV Study Bible.
Wow, it's amazing. I have from the Hermenia series a translation and commentary by Francois Bovon. This is part 3, or volume 3, I should say. We have Ehrman's commentary on the Bible. We have the Greek New Testament and a textual guide to the Greek New Testament.
We have the New King James Version of the Bible, the text of the New Testament by Bruce Metzger, the historical Jesus in Context by Amy Jill Levine and others, and the Oxford Companion to the Bible, as well as the complete writings of Josephus.
Yeah, we do have those things, but we don't talk about the Oxford Companion.
I just did.
We don't talk about it.
We can bring up its name, but there's nothing to
we
say about
don't,
it. It's
don't
not
talk
even
about
that we
it.
don't talk about it.
We don't talk
There's
about
nothing left to say on it.
it. We don't talk about it. That's all I'm going to say is that we don't talk about it. But anyways, yeah, so we're going to start off today's reading with a satanic plot.
A satanic
I'm
plot.
guessing this is the Judas thing.
Ooh,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
nice.
Yeah, because each gospel has like a slightly different reasoning for why Judas betrays Jesus. In this one, it's Satan.
Of course.
Yeah, and we're basically going to be going into Passover.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah.
Or the day of Passover, at least.
So why don't I hop into it, unless there's more that you want to say?
No. I think we're ready to go.
Alrighty then. Chapter 22. Now the feast of unleavened bread drew nigh, which is called the Passover.
Wow. But remember, initially, they were different. They were different things. That because they were celebrated so close together, they eventually became one thing. And I did a video on that.
Yeah.
History of Passover.
Kohelet wasn't a character in the Bible, was he? He was
No. Kohelet was the author
Right.
of Ecclesiastes.
Exactly. And who's the guy speaking in Ecclesiastes then?
It would be him.
Yeah, so he's a character in the Bible, technically.
Well, I wouldn't.
No, it's
wisdom.
Solomon.
It's right. Yeah. Well, it's wisdom literature, so I'm not really sure it has that kind of same sense of the speaker being a
so
character.
I guess Job.
Job is something. Yeah.
Job's my favorite character. There you go, Klaus.
Yeah, who's my favorite character in the Bible? I don't even know.
Think about it while you read.
Satan's cool. Yeah, I'm not sure. I would think it would have to be like, Ezekiel's cool, right? I think Ezekiel's pretty cool.
I'm going to go with Saul because he has the best story.
Saul, sure. A lot of good ones. Or I should say, not even a lot of good ones, but there are some interesting ones.
Well,
anyway, let me tell you about the Feast of Unleavened Bread. So Leviticus 23:5-6, Exodus 12:17, 23:15, 34:18. These list the Passover and the Festival of Unleavened Bread as separate holidays. Numbers 28:17, Deuteronomy 16:16 apparently equate the two holidays. Second Chronicles 8:13, etc. also do the same. Now, you call it the Passover. This is perhaps an explanation for Gentile readers. The Talmud in Sanhedrin 43a also connects Jesus' death to the time of the Passover. So, there ye go. And the chief priests and scribes sought how they might kill him, for they feared the people. Then entered Satan into Judas, surnamed Iscariot, being of the number of the 12. Yeah, so Satan enters Judas here. In the Gospels, this expression is used on two separate occasions. One, before Judas went to the chief priests offered to betray Jesus here, and two, during the Last Supper in John 13:27. Thus, the gospel writers depict Satan's control over Judas, who had never displayed a high motive of service or commitment to Jesus.
Yeah, and this kind of reminds me a little bit of when those demons, I guess demons of spirits, went into, was it sheep? Right? Was it sheep or pigs? Pigs, okay.
Gotcha. The whole point is that they're unclean animals.
Hi, Matthew.
Anyways, and he went his way and communed with the chief priests and captains how he might betray him unto them. And they were glad and covenanted to give him money. And he promised and sought opportunity to betray him unto them in the absence of the multitude. Then came the day of the unleavened bread, when the Passover must be killed. Yeah, so we've had this established before. The Passover being killed is a reference to the actual Passover lamb.
Yeah, the actual thing that's being sacrificed.
Which, yes, a literal animal sacrifice.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, many Orthodox Jews still hold that once the third temple is erected on the crumbled ruins of the Dome of the Rock in Jerusalem, that animal sacrifices will begin again because it's commanded in their religious law.
That would make sense. So one must make a distinction between to deliver and to betray. So yeah, if you deliver somebody, you're like, handing them over. So this, we're going to get a little bit into the Greek here. So even if Judas's act was an act of betrayal, and if in 6:16 Iscariot has been designated as a future betrayer, twice here the verb paradidomi is used, which means deliver, hand over is what it means, or to transmit. So to betray is prodidomi. So you give towards, I guess, in a way, or you give first, which would be a weird translation here. To give in advance. Luke is writing the story of the one who has delivered Jesus to death. But since the vocabulary of tradition goes back as far as the origins of Christianity and is rooted in Judaism, the evangelist feels that the verb paradidomi is rich in its ambiguity. By relating the drama of the Passion, he too delivers Jesus to future generations. Judas delivered him with a betrayal. Luke in his book delivers him according to a tradition.
And he sent Peter and John, saying, Go and prepare us the Passover, that we may eat. And they said unto him, Where wilt thou that we prepare? And he said unto them, Behold! When ye are entered into the city, there shall a man meet you, bearing a pitcher of water. follow him into the house where he entereth in, and ye shall say unto the good man of the house, the master saith unto thee, where is the guest chamber, where I shall eat the Passover with my disciples? And he shall show you a large upper room furnished. There make ready. And they went, and found as he had said unto them, and they made ready the Passover. And when the hour was come, he sat down, and the 12 apostles with him. You know, he did the whole, like,
Sure.
Passover.
Oh, yeah, the one
Last
scene
Supper.
where everybody's on the same side of the 24-chair table.
Yep, which definitely would happen.
That's, it's just customary to sit on the same side of a table.
Yeah, especially when you're, like, talking with each other and...
Yeah, it makes sense to be all on the same side. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. And he said unto them, with desire I have desired to eat this Passover with you before I suffer. For I say unto you, I will not any more eat thereof until it be fulfilled in the kingdom of God. And he took the cup and gave thanks and said, take this and divide it among yourselves. For I say unto you, I will not drink of the fruit of the vine until the kingdom of God shall come. And he took bread and gave thanks and brake it and gave it unto them, saying, this is my body which is given for you. This do in remembrance of me. Likewise, also the cup after supper, saying, this cup is the New Testament in my blood, which is shed for you. But behold, the hand of him that betrayeth me is with me on the table, and truly the Son of Man goeth as it was determined. But woe unto that man by whom he is betrayed.
Yeah, but again, you got to remember that this was also Satan, right? Because Satan had entered Judas, and we did talk about if he had his hand in like the same bowl or something, right?
Yeah.
At the same time when he said that.
Now I want you to do something for me, Lawrence. I want you to open up Jeremiah chapter 31, verses 31 through 34. And while you're doing that, I'll provide some commentary on this stuff. Yeah, he's anticipating his sacrifice on the cross, just as the Passover was a constant reminder and proclamation of God's redemption of Israel from bondage in Egypt. So the keeping of Christ's commandment would be a remembering and proclaiming of the deliverance of believers from the bondage of sin.
Instead of Jeremiah 31.
Yes, Jeremiah 31, verses 31 through 34.
All right, I got it pulled up here.
Now, give me a reading of that.
All right. Behold! The days are coming, declares the Lord, when I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel and the house of Judah, not like the covenant that I made with their fathers on the day when I took them by the hand to bring them out of the land of Egypt. My covenant that they broke, though I was their husband, declares the Lord. For this is the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel after those days, declares the Lord. I will put my law within them, and I will write it on their hearts, and I will be their God, and they shall be my people. And no longer shall each one teach his neighbor and each his brother, saying, know the Lord, for they shall all know me, from the least of them to the greatest, declares the Lord. For I will forgive their iniquity, and I will remember their sin no more.
So we see there in Jeremiah something that is very important to Christian theology.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that is referenced directly here, that Jesus is establishing a new covenant. Here,
and
translated,
it's going to be written in their hearts.
Mm-hmm. The circumcision of the heart.
Right.
Yeah. But it isn't the case that new covenants invalidate old covenants in the Bible. For example, you have the covenant with Abraham, which is to
Be as numerous as the sands on the sea. Or
that's what is given in reward.
Right.
The thing that's required of Abraham is to keep God's commandments and to circumcise the boys at 8 days old, right? And that is a covenant which continues throughout the Bible. Just because additional covenants have been made, and there have been additional covenants made, doesn't mean that previous covenants have been eradicated.
Yes, if anything, it's almost like a major change to the governance or the relationship with God, and maybe even kind of a new era for the people when they make a covenant.
Yeah, definitely the relationship with God, I would say, yeah.
Yeah. But here, like, as is something that was directly pointed towards in Matthew, they're not, like, invalidating the established religious law. In fact, following a strict reading of the Torah is something that Jesus speaks very highly of throughout the Gospels.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, like, this Christian...
He's just, always disagreeing with, like, the Pharisees' interpretation of it.
Right. So this Christian interpretation that's more dispensational and like a replacement covenant theology doesn't really make any sense given the context of the story as we have it. Anyways, let me continue on here. And they began to inquire among themselves which of them it was that should do this thing. And there was also a strife among them, which of them should be accounted the greatest. And he said unto them, the kings of the Gentiles exercise lordship over them, and they that exercise authority upon them are called benefactors. But ye shall not be so. But he that is greatest among you, let him be as the younger, and he that is chief is he that doth serve.
Yeah, so back to the whole flipping of all social roles.
Right. For whether is greater he that sitteth at meat or he that serveth? Is not he that sitteth at meat? But I am among you as he that serveth. Ye are they which have continued with me in my temptations, and I appoint unto you a kingdom, as my Father hath appointed unto me, that ye may eat and drink at my table in my kingdom, and sit on thrones, judging the 12 tribes of Israel.
Yeah, so as is often the case in the biblical tradition, the kingdom and Luke's reception of it are understood as a banquet, anticipated and symbolized by Jesus' meals with his disciples, or with the sinners, I guess. The expression "at my table" connects this future of the kingdom with the present of the Lord's Supper. People have wondered about the connection between the Father's kingdom and that of the Son. In my opinion, they refer less to different realities than to different periods. If we compare our passage with 1 Corinthians 15:23-28, we discover that the early Christians wondered about the order of the last events, which was fair, because they had a lot of talks about the things that would happen in the last days. So when death has been destroyed, Christ the King will finally give power back to his Father. Eating and drinking have always expressed the essence of a meal. Well, yeah, sure. Yeah, that's essentially the important stuff there.
Yeah, and this is a little bit of foreshadowing here as well, that he says that you'll be judging the 12 tribes of Israel. Kind of foreshadowing for the sequel, Acts, where we literally have the apostles who are engaging in their acts. Right?
Yeah, the acts of the apostles, yeah.
And the Lord said, Simon, Simon, behold!
Behold!
Satan hath desired to have you, that he may sift you as wheat. But I have prayed for thee, that thy faith fail not, and when thou art converted, strengthen thy brethren. And he said unto him, Lord, I am ready to go with thee, both into prison and to death. And he said, I tell thee, Peter, the cock shall not crow this day before that thou shalt thrice deny that thou knowest me. And he said unto them, when I sent you without purse and scrip and shoes, lacked ye anything? And they said, nothing. Then said he unto them, but now he that hath a purse, let him take it, and likewise his scrip. And he that hath no sword, let him sell his garment and buy one. For I say unto you, that this that is written must yet be accomplished in me. And he was reckoned among the transgressors, for the things concerning me have an end.
Oh my. So gotta seems to allude to something not so good there, right? Then he said to them,
Right.
Yeah, because he has the whoever does not have a sword, let him sell his coat and buy one. So hold up here.
And this is kind of a covert reference to the suffering servant stuff too, where he says, for I say unto you that this that is written must yet be accomplished in me. Right?
Yeah, so they each have like their obvious side, which is, the more direct meaning that we get. Let's see, for a brief moment, Luke opens a window on his concept of history. What was valid at the time of the historical Jesus will not be applicable at the time of the risen Christ. Modern exegetes are wrong when they are surprised at the ethical and ecclesial differences they find between the gospel and Acts. Luke is neither Mark nor John. The Lucan gospel is primarily a point of reference. Secondarily, transparency. One can understand the present situation of the believers only by keeping an eye on Acts while reading the gospel. As Calvin will think, here more Lucan than Pauline, the risen one is absent because of the ascension. It is thus important to make the indispensable provisions for this hard time that is the church's time. While nothing was missing in Jesus' presence, there is the risk that everything could be missing in his absence. Thus, one must get what is absolutely necessary. The sword becomes welcome. One must even sacrifice one's coat for it. No doubt there's some rhetorical exaggeration here. Yeah, maybe some.
Well, I haven't gotten to that verse yet.
Oh, about the... No, we read the one with the sword.
No.
Or about...
I read verse 37. The sword thing is in verse 38. Well, there's a reference to a sword.
Well, whoever does not have a sword, let him sell his coat and buy one. Yeah, that's the thing I was referencing.
Yeah, and in verse 38, which I'll say here is, and they said, Lord, behold,
Behold.
here are two swords. And he said unto them, it is enough.
Good. I'm glad 2 swords is enough.
Yeah. Now, this 2 swords, it's sensing that the disciples had taken them too literally. Jesus ironically closes the discussion with a curt, that's plenty. Not long after this, Peter is rebuked for using a sword, which, if you remember.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
that's right. He had to, I forget if did he cut the other guy's head off, or was that, did he just stab him or something?
I think he just slashed him.
Just slashed him? Okay, I don't exactly remember it, but I do remember like when
watching
he was getting taken away.
movies with biblical themes. You mean almost all movies, but also like a strictly biblical thing, like the Noah movie.
Didn't we kind of do that?
Yes. We considered it.
No. We had a stream years ago. This is like maybe it was a New Year's thing. I want to say.
We watched a crappy cartoon.
Yeah, we watched some cartoon.
You don't remember the crappy Christian cartoon we watched?
Was it some Exodus thing, or was
I
it?
remember us having like a DVD or something
that
we couldn't get to play.
That's right.
That's what happened.
Play.
We never got it to work because it just doesn't work in any DVD player. It just doesn't work.
Different region locked DVDs.
Yeah, right. What
It's
what
possible.
annoyance.
He's not.
Yeah.
Yeah. might be able to do something about it. There's ways to change your settings on some of the older DVD players, but like forget that.
Yeah.
Sure, I guess. But it's yeah, we definitely we tried, and I guess
Jesus Christ Superstar.
I mean, yeah, there's so many. Like the thing is, so some of the religious movies are like it would be fun to like examine the themes and stuff, and to see how like.
Are you ready for Mel Gibson's sequel
Oh.
to The Passion of the Christ?
Is it called The Ascension of the Christ? I don't know.
No, I don't know. It's like Jesus in Hell or something.
Oh, that sounds kind of neat.
Yeah.
That sounds way better than the actual Passion. Because the whole point of the Passion narrative is like
The Temptation of Christ.
oh, the temptation of Christ. Okay, because I would have watched something with Jesus in hell. That would have been interesting. I would have been like, hey, this sounds kind of cool. We should definitely watch that. And if it's not being made, we should make it.
Oh, okay.
Life of Brian.
Oh, Life of Brian. There you go.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Yes.
Yeah, anyway, let me continue reading the Bible here so that we don't just like talk about movies this whole time. And he came out and went, and as he was wont, to the Mount of Olives. And his disciples also followed him. And when he was at the place, he said unto them, Pray that ye enter not into temptation. And he was withdrawn from them, and about a stone's cast, and kneeled down and prayed, saying, Father, if thou be willing, remove this cup from me. Nevertheless, not my will, but thine be done. And there appeared an angel unto him from heaven, strengthening him. And being in an agony, he prayed more earnestly. And his sweat was as it were great drops of blood falling down to the ground. And when he rose up from prayer and was come to his disciples, he found them sleeping
And
for sorrow.
That's a lot of sweat.
Yeah, this reference to sweat here, probably perspiration in large drops like blood, or possibly
obviously.
hematidrosis, and the actual mingling of blood and sweat, as in cases of extreme anguish, strain, or sensitivity.
Whoa.
Yeah. Although attested in late 2nd century manuscripts, the verses here are lacking in major 3rd and 4th century texts. With developing Christology, some followers of Jesus rejected the idea that he would have such strong emotions, especially if it appeared he was fearful of the cross.
Yeah, I think his whole thing was that he did not. He was welcoming it, right?
Well, I mean, here he's like, yeah, I don't want this to happen. But,
Yeah,
God,
you know what?
Whatever you want.
This always seems like okay, so for most of the Gospels, he seems like perfectly fine. He anticipates this, so he doesn't totally mind it, right?
Well, he makes this like last plea with God a couple of times.
Yeah, exactly. Like he like went out alone and was like he did cry out multiple times. It didn't help any, but no, he did though.
Even Jesus's prayers don't work.
Yeah, right, and that's Jesus. So
Yeah,
I don't know, maybe do something in addition to praying for it. I don't know.
yeah. Anyways, here we also have confirmation that it is Yahweh's will that Jesus be murdered.
Yeah.
In fact, he doubles down on it by sending an angel to him.
Yeah.
All right. And they're talking about Jesus here. And said unto them, Why sleep ye? Rise and pray, lest ye enter into temptation. And while he yet spake, behold!
Behold!
Now here's the scene. A multitude. And he that was called Judas, one of the 12, went before them, and drew near unto Jesus to kiss him. But Jesus said unto him, Judas, betrayest thou the Son of Man with a kiss? When they which were about him saw what
here's
would
something
follow.
here's something interesting. So the verb phileo, which it can mean to love or to be friendly or friendly to. So yeah, there are a bunch of different meanings of it. Because philos, phileo, they are because the root would generally mean love, but it can mean like a whole different types of love. So in the way that two friends love each other, also designates beyond the feeling and the relationship the signs of affection one gives. The word philema can mean the kiss or the hug, depending on the particular location and the social context. The philema can mean a gesture of affection, or of love or of respect. Here it is the respect an inferior gives to a superior person, such as that of the Orthodox believer who kisses the ring of his bishop or the hand of his priest, or that of the Jewish student who kisses his rabbi, which I'm glad I never had to do that part.
Yeah. And while he yet spake, behold, a multitude that was called... Okay, I already read that. So he's like, Judas, are you betraying me? When they which were about him saw...
No, Justin, make me. You're not my supervisor.
Saw what would follow, they said unto him, Lord, shall we smite with the sword? And one of them smote the servant of the high priest and cut off his right ear.
Yep.
That's what happened. And Jesus...
I heard Van Gogh.
Yep. And Jesus answered and said, Suffer ye thus far. And he touched his ear and healed him. Then Jesus said unto the chief priests and the captains of the temple and the elders which were come to him, Be ye come out as against a thief with swords and staves? When I was daily with you in the temple, ye stretched forth no hands against me. But this is your hour and the power of darkness. Yeah. The power of darkness.
Yeah, the evangelists, especially Luke, had a completely different conviction. They are present at what they regard as the triumph of evil. So yeah, but this is your hour. Not only must Jesus' defenders let things run their course, not only Jesus, who miraculously healed the amputated ear and thus demonstrated his supernatural power, but God himself withdraws. I mean,
yeah,
damn.
Yeah, so they brought out an angry mob, and they're going to get him.
Man, I just thought about something. There's a ton of people who are going to be in the future, just for me, who are going to be like, when we make new videos, like that are different religious texts, I just imagine they're like, read the Bible, and we're going to be like, ha, 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 we read the Bible.
You know, it'd be weird to have people who follow this channel but would not know that we...
No, it's just like in the
Bible.
future.
I know what you mean. I know what you mean.
People, not followers now, obviously.
Right, I know what you mean. But like, just like random people in the future who have just no idea that we've read the entirety of the Bible.
Right.
Yeah, that would be weird.
That'd be interesting, don't you think? It'll
happen.
It'll happen.
I guess.
I just had a future flash forward, I guess.
But
or
also...
an idea, you know what I mean? I've speculated.
But also, you've never read any of the Bible because you haven't had an inspired reading.
All right.
That's right.
This wasn't inspired somehow. Guys, be inspired. Come on.
Yeah. See, the real wisdom of the Bible is hidden to you because you've hardened your heart and you're too stiff-necked.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Just, man.
Yep.
Whoops. Got nothing.
And they took him and led him and brought him to the high priest's house. And Peter followed afar off. Now, we've noted before that this would be highly irregular within the legal system. You wouldn't just bring someone to the high priest's house to have a trial.
Yeah, that'd be so weird to have it there.
Expedited to the nth degree.
Yeah. In fact, sentencing someone to death would be against the law in the region at the time by this legal body.
Yeah, they wouldn't have that power.
And in addition to that, like, they would also be probably breaking some religious laws in accordance with like holding this trial during the Passover.
They think he's a false prophet.
Right, but remember this is Passover week, right?
Mm.
Because that's what we had at the beginning.
Well,
So
no, because this was literally like immediately after finishing the Feast of Unleavened Bread.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah. So, yeah. This is messy all around.
Yeah.
And when they had kindled a fire in the midst of the hall, and were set down together, Peter sat down among them. But a certain maid beheld him as he sat by the fire, and earnestly looked upon him, and said, This man was also with him. And he denied him, saying, Woman, I know him not. And after a little while, another saw him and said, Thou art also of them. And Peter said, Man, I am not. And about the space of 1 hour after, another confidently affirmed, saying, Of a truth, this fellow also was with him, for he is a Galilean. And Peter said, Man, I know not what thou sayest. And immediately, while he yet spake, the cock crew. Right. So this is a callback to
his you will deny me 3 times thing before the cock crows.
Yeah.
And it all happens very quickly, right?
Right.
And it's
he's like, Woman, man,
I don't know what you're talking about.
What are you? I don't know anything about that.
Yeah, right. Peter always is just kind of, he gets the short end of the stick.
First pope, dumbest pope.
Yeah, that is he's often interpreted that way to be the first pope.
Baselessly.
Right?
Yeah.
Even though Jesus
because his name is
multiple times that he's not setting one over another and that they're all equal and then not a single one of them has authority over.
He says that
on this rock I will build
my church. Yeah.
Right. Which I guess you could interpret
and Petros
it.
means rock.
Yeah, I guess you could interpret it that way. But there's many ways that you could possibly interpret it, and there's many reasons to believe that was not the intention, given that he explicitly makes multiple statements about how not one of the apostles is going to be put over the other or given special authority of any kind. So there you go. Catholicism is nonsense. It's literally statue worshipers. So they're idolaters.
Yeah, lots of
they have a god
going
king named the Pope.
Yeah.
Yeah, named the Pope. That's his name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's like when you become a king, it's not like Henry VIII was literally named Henry before ascending to the throne.
I mean, I have no idea.
No. When you ascend to the throne, you take a new name.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Well, it's really weird the names that they pick then.
Yeah. Well,
they always try to stay within some sort of tradition for them.
Well, usually they take a name that is a reference to some historical king that they want to emulate the actions of in some sense.
Sure.
Anyways,
They do that with popes too. Anyways, yeah.
And the Lord turned and looked upon Peter, and Peter remembered the word of the Lord, how he had said unto him, Before the cock crow, thou shalt deny me thrice. And Peter went out and wept bitterly. And the men that held Jesus mocked him and smote him. And when they had blindfolded him, they struck him on the face and asked him, saying, Prophecy, who is it that smote thee?
Wow.
Well, yeah. So that's part of their mocking. He's like prophesy, as a command. He's like,
figure out who's hitting you.
Yeah, essentially. If you're this great prophet, why don't you prophesy who did this, huh, buddy?
Yeah, because you're blindfolded.
Yeah. And many other things blasphemously spake they against him. And as soon as it was day, the elders of the people and the chief priests and the scribes came together and led him into their council, saying, Art thou the Christ? Tell us. And he said unto them, If I tell you, ye will not believe. And if I also ask you, ye will not answer me, nor let me go. Hereafter shall the Son of Man sit on the right hand of the power of God.
So hold on here. So verse 66 provides the information that an official authority will deal with the one who is waiting in the house of the high priest. Verses 67 through 71 present the hearing that Jesus then undergoes. Two questions lead to two answers of different lengths. You have a long one and a short one. The gathering has the last word and is ready for the next stage, the appearance before Pilate, which we'll get next chapter. From judges who conduct an examination or an inquest, they become accusers when they appear before the Roman governor. An examination or an inquest is usually carried out by only one of two persons. By presenting a large assembly, Luke gives this stage the solemnity of a trial. Two solutions are possible for the exegete who is looking for the origin of this passage. According to the first solution, Luke is relying on his own special source. Indeed, the sequence of the episodes and the contents of the literary unit differ from the Gospel of Mark. The trial takes place on the day after Peter's denial, and the mocking scene, while in Mark it is held during the night at the same time as the denial. In 1453 through 72. The Lucan text is not aware of the episode of the false witnesses. That's in Mark 1456 through 61. It duplicates the tribunal's question, emphasizes a Jesus who avoids clear answers. Yeah, that is true. I remember that. Prefers the seating of the Son of Man over his arrival, and says nothing of the tearing of the priest's vestments, the charge of blasphemy, and the last judgment. These are many differences. If we add that the text of Luke may contain some non-Lucan elements and shares with John Jesus' skepticism about the dialogue, we will agree that the hypothesis is defensible. According to the other hypothesis, these differences are to be explained by Luke's redactional purposes. Luke freely rewrites what Mark, his primary source for the narrative parts, gives him. Our interpretation of the details will show that Luke's theology is behind many of the changes he makes in Mark's text, the most important of which concerns the Christological dialogue. Luke gives the question of the Jewish authorities twice in order to make it possible for Jesus to redefine the title Messiah in transcendent terms. So Son of God, not by adoption, but in reality. The sentence about the Son of Man sitting at God's right hand, inserted between the two questions, provides the theological and scriptural argument for this demonstration. The Lucan Jesus never explicitly says that he is this character, but what he implies is convincing. The authorities are not mistaken there. They need no further testimony to pursue the charge against Jesus.
All right, so they get this council together, the Sanhedrin. This is the judicial authority. The Sanhedrin in the Talmud records a great Sanhedrin of 71 that met in the temple. It was ruled by the high priest, but consisted of sages, who were rabbis. This report's historicity is questionable. Given that the Mishnah's tendency to promote sages' authority over that of the priests is present, the Mishnah also indicates the illegality and indeed unlikelihood of a full Sanhedrin trial on the first night of Passover.
Not only that, but they got together so quickly.
Yeah. Sanhedrin 4:2 indicates that the Sanhedrin was forbidden to hold a capital trial on the eve of the Sabbath or festival.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. John's gospel, lacking a Sanhedrin trial, depicts only a hearing before Annas.
Well, shit.
Yeah. So Luke, with all of his careful reading of
so here's something. So there's been a lot of work done on the Sanhedrin and everything they would do. So they've shown that the Mishnah tractate Sanhedrin gives an idealized image of the institution. In the first century, were there two legal bodies, a great and a small Sanhedrin? Was there a boule, that's a council, as in the Hellenistic cities, alongside a Sanhedrin? Was this Sanhedrin in authority that met regularly, or did it come together only when circumstances required? In my opinion, there was in Jesus' day an authority called the Sanhedrin, made up of elders, priests, and scribes. The extent of their prerogatives remains, alas, obscure. This body appears to have had certain political and legal powers. On one point, the Gospels are in agreement. This council was able to refer Jesus to Pilate to accuse him.
All right, let me finish off this chapter. Then said they all, Art thou then the Son of God? And he said unto them, Ye say that I am.
Yeah, you say that.
Mm-hmm. And they said, What need we any further witness? For we ourselves have heard of his own mouth.
Ah, okay.
That is
I see.
The end of chapter 22. If you're enjoying the stream so far, give us a like, comment, subscribe, share it with your friends, family, neighbors, etc. And let us hop into
The next chapter.
the next chapter.
Good old chapter 23.
Yeah, good old chapter 23. We go way back.
How I missed ye.
Verily.
I say unto you.
That's Jesus' catchphrase.
I say,
Verily, yeah.
Verily, I say unto you.
All right, so here we go. Jesus before Pilate.
Yeah, we've had this scene before, but maybe it's going to be a little different. Now, if you recall, there was a difference between Matthew and Mark insofar as in Matthew, there is a verse wherein Pilate's wife appears
Right.
and says that she's had this vision, which does not occur in Mark. So let's see if anything similar to that happens in the Lucan narrative.
All right, so chapter 23. Then the whole company of them arose and brought him before Pilate. And they began to accuse him, saying, We found this man misleading our nation and forbidding us to give tribute to Caesar. He didn't know such thing.
No, he did nothing.
And saying that he himself is Christ, a king. Also, he didn't say that in this.
No.
But he made a lot of...
He made an implication.
He made a lot of implications. And Pilate asked him, Are you the king of the Jews? And he answered him, You have said so.
Yeah, so this is another you have said so, which doesn't answer the question. But
Right.
the NIV translates this as, Yes, it is as you say.
Whoa.
Which completely changes the implication and the dynamic between these two in this
All right,
situation.
hold on.
So what does the Greek say in verse 3? Is it yes? I believe that last time we looked into something like this, there was like a carried implication of affirmation.
All right, let me, what verse is it specifically?
Verse
Sorry.
3.
Verse 3, okay. Now I gotta flip through all this, which makes sense, because we do this all the time.
Mm.
All right, verse 3 here. So he says, yeah, he just says, you say.
Mm-hmm.
So like it's it's literally his response is you say, or you argue, or you speak. That's your point. So with this one in the Greek, there is, I would not say there's a carried implication here, of that, but I think in the other one there was, but not in the Lucan.
Right. So here they just bear false witness against Jesus, and they put forward this like completely erroneous report to Pilate. Now, according to Eerdmans, all of Luke Acts is epidictic, apologetic, a history addressed to a larger public, attempting to persuade readers towards a favorable opinion of the church and its founder, instead of the present negative one. Countering such accusations is then a core purpose of both volumes. The fundamental charge is perverting or misleading the nation by 1, forbidding us to pay taxes to the emperor, and 2, saying that he is the Messiah. This is exactly what the Jewish revolutionaries against Rome did in AD 66, the fundamental charge Josephus makes against them. The charge is military sedition. Some commentators distinguish between religious and political charges, as if Jesus were not political, but this is a modern notion. Jesus was not being tried by the Roman governor for completely non-political reasons. LUK Acts advocates certain religio-political policies related to the poor and to receiving foreigners, as do other apologetic histories, but LUK Acts denies that Jesus advocated military subversion in Judea, or that the church causes violent riots in Greco-Roman cities, either of which could be a cause for Romans to suppress the Jewish sect. The 2 volumes conclude on a victorious note. Paul was proclaiming the kingdom of God and teaching things about the Lord Jesus Christ, which was not forbidden even in Rome. Anyways, why don't you continue on?
All right. Will do. So, he's like, yeah, you said so. You say this. Then Pilate said to the chief priests and the crowds, I find no guilt in this man. But they were urgent, saying, he strips up the people, teaching throughout, he stirs up the people. Stirs up the people, teaching throughout all Judea, from Galilee, even to this place. Now we get another section here, Jesus before Pilate. Yep. Jesus before Herod. We just read Jesus before Pilate.
Yeah, and only Luke reports Jesus being questioned by Herod.
Yeah. We didn't get that before. Huh. So when Pilate heard this, he asked whether the man was a Galilean. And he learned that he belonged to Herod's jurisdiction. He sent him over to Herod, who was himself in Jerusalem at that time. Wow. When Herod saw Jesus, he was very glad, for he had long desired to see him, because he had heard about him, and he was hoping to see some sign done by him. And which gospel was it where Herod was doing that was Matthew, right? Where they were doing the slaughter of the innocents? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So,
but this is different.
Yeah.
This is Herod the Great's son.
Right. Okay. So he questioned him at some length, but he made no answer. The chief priests and the scribes stood by, vehemently accusing him, and Herod with his soldiers treated him with contempt and mocked him. Then, arraying him in splendid clothing, he sent him back to Pilate. Oh, so is this like a confirmation that he is, if he's putting him back in splendid clothing?
Yeah, he sends him back in splendid clothing, right? And what verse is that exactly?
That was 11.
Verse 11. So basically he's saying that he finds him innocent. Here, although Pilate and Herod were rivals, Pilate didn't want to handle this case. So he sent Jesus to Herod. Herod's main headquarters was in Tiberias on the Sea of Galilee. But like Pilate, he had come to Jerusalem because of the crowd at Passover. He sends him off with this garment. Basically, it's like, yeah, he's innocent, right?
Yeah, so he puts on a festive garment on him. So the word there, peribalon, that's it's a participle. Putting it on him. Dressing him, I guess, is appropriate for the act of putting on a cloak. That is the external garment that goes on. We know what a fucking cloak is. Mm-hmm. The word estes is a general term. It can refer to all of a person's clothing. At that time, the tunic was worn as an undergarment, and the draped cloak as an outer garment. It can also designate only the cloak. Furthermore, one must also distinguish between the civilian dress and the military uniform, everyday clothing, and ceremonial costumes. Yeah, a whole bunch of stuff you gotta separate from one another. Whole different types of clothing is essentially the idea there. The estes lampra, thus means a ceremonial cloak. To understand what is happening, we must turn to the parallel scene omitted by Luke, in which Pilate's soldiers mock Jesus. There, they force a purple robe on him. They make fun of they make fun of the one who is accused of regarding himself as a king. Herod and his rabble of soldiers organize a game of mocking and masquerade that has the same sense, but within a Jewish framework. The white shining wool cloak was reserved for the past, present, or coming king of Israel. The two mocking scenes, doubtless coming from a single tradition, conveyed the same message. Jesus' opponents, whether Pilate the Roman or Herod the Jew, ridiculed Jesus' messianic kingship.
Why don't you continue on?
All right. So it was a way to replace the dressing of him, I guess. And Herod and Pilate became friends with each other that very day. For before this, they had been at enmity with each other. Pilate then called together the chief priests and the rulers and the people, and said to them, "You brought me this man as one who was misleading the people. And after examining him before you, behold, I did not find this man guilty of any of your charges against him. Neither did Herod, for he sent him back to us. Look, nothing deserving death has been done by him. I will therefore punish and release him." What?
Yeah, so
Why are you punishing him if...
although Pilate found Jesus not guilty as charged, he was willing to have him illegally beaten in order to satisfy the chief priests and the people.
What the fuck?
And to warn against any possible trouble in the future. Scourging, though not intended to kill, was sometimes fatal.
Oh, wait, hold on. Here's some stuff.
Now, there's a missing verse after this.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
I actually have stuff on that too.
Yeah.
So we will cover it.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll cover it. So paidusas, the verb duo means to educate, to inform, to teach, or to punish, or to correct, like you correct an action. So it is to be taken here with the meaning of, to inflict a punishment. But since Pilate thinks that Jesus is innocent, the action of the verb is less a punishment than a warning. Luke does not state exactly what the nature of this warning is. It can be a warning in the form of a verbal threat, but it can also be physical punishment in the form of lashing. In this case, the verb paiduo would be a euphemism. One readily thinks of such physical punishment because of the parallels. It really should be more precise because the Romans distinguished among various forms of corporal punishment. They have like a whole bunch of different... Then they list a whole bunch of different Latin words that are different types of punishments. If we are to see the verb as a euphemism, it would be a question of... of the fustigatio, I don't know, a whip lashing that the Romans administered as a preventative measure.
Yeah, flogging.
So they would essentially here, you could pull out either the meaning that he is being corrected, like he's going to be scolded about, doing something. He's like, "Hey, stay out of trouble, you," or like flogging to be like, "Hey, you cut that shit out." Whatever it is.
Right.
So
on verse 17.
Yeah.
Verse 17 says, "Now he was obliged to release someone for them at the festival." This is a scribal edition from Mark 15:6. It's probably a later explanatory interpolation. It's present in Aleph and Eusebius, but absent in A and B. Manuscript D includes it after verse 19. There is no historical precedent.
Yeah, so it's absent from early witnesses, and it appears in different locations in the manuscripts after verse 16 in some manuscripts and after verse 19 in others. It is possible that this verse fell out accidentally since verses 17 and 18 begin with similar letters, but such an explanation does not explain its widespread omission and its presence at two different places in the manuscripts.
Right.
Yeah. So just completely... Yeah. Omit the verse.
Yeah.
Does the KJV have that verse in it?
The KJV,
Because this one does
being
omit
the
it.
definitive version of the book. Yeah, the KJV does include it, but it's in parentheses.
Okay. That's something. Yeah. That is something at least.
So it's definitely in parentheses.
Yeah, definitely in parentheses. Yes. Yeah, and then all the comments on this are just like, here is where the text is, and here's where it's not.
Right.
Yeah. And yeah, apparently popping up in different spots too. That happens with quite a few verses.
But basically, we're about to get into the Barabbas episode, which we've covered before. Barabbas also being like son of God, kind of. Son of the Father, literally, from Aramaic.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I'm going to continue on here. But they all cried out together, "Away with this man, and release to us Barabbas, a man who had been thrown into prison for an insurrection started in the city and for murder."
Yeah, so being guilty of insurrection, he's literally...
And murder.
Yeah. He's literally guilty of the charge that was levied against Jesus.
Wait, was murder... Murder wasn't a thing that
murder,
Jesus...
Not murder, but insurrection.
Yeah, insurrection.
Yeah.
It's just interesting that they have, murder thrown in there. What is that verse?
They just want to make it worse.
I guess, yeah. I suppose. Pilate addressed them once more, desiring to release Jesus, but they kept shouting, "Crucify! Crucify him!" A third time he said to them, "Why? What evil has he done? I have found in him no guilt deserving death. I will therefore punish and release him." But they were urgent, demanding with loud cries that he should be crucified, and their voices prevailed. So Pilate decided that the demand should be granted. He released the man who had been thrown into prison for insurrection and murder, for whom they asked, but he delivered Jesus over to their will. Really, this is a horrible system. If it can just
mob rule.
Yeah, mob rule essentially. Because they're not making the rules, but if they complain enough, they can make the rules.
Mm-hmm.
And even in cases,
just like in real life.
Yeah, right. I guess. That's right. That is true. Although I don't think in real life that's how courts would work, though.
It depends on how many people there are with torches and pitchforks.
I mean, yeah, I guess you could. You could physically force it to happen. Yes, I suppose.
Let that guy go.
But it doesn't look like they. It doesn't it said that he eventually just kind of gave in to their shouts and cries, not to their physically coming in and releasing the prisoners.
Yeah, and they say here that he hands him over, right? That he releases him, right? But releases him to be crucified. The language can suggest that Pilate gave Jesus to the Jewish crowd to execute.
That is kind of what it sounds like, yeah.
Yeah.
Why don't you continue on?
Sure. And as they led him away, they seized one Simon of Cyrene, who was coming in from the country, and laid on him the cross to carry it behind Jesus. Just some random fucking dude.
Yeah.
We covered him in another gospel, I think. And there followed
Cyrene's in Libya, by the way.
Okay. And there followed him a great multitude of the people and of women who were mourning and lamenting for him. But turning to them, Jesus said, "Daughters of Jerusalem, do not weep for me, but weep for yourselves and for your children. For behold, the days are coming when they will say, 'Blessed are the barren, and the wombs that never bore, and the breasts that never nursed.'" So yeah, blessed are the ones who don't have kids.
Well, yes, and that is specifically in reference to something that Jesus predicted on the day of Yahweh, when he says, in those days,
it'd be better
woe
not to have been
unto
born.
them who are with child in the womb or giving suck. Right?
Yeah. Let's see. Oh yeah, never nursed. Then they begin to say to the mountains, fall on us, and to the hills, cover us. For if they do these things when the wood is green, what will happen when it is dry? Weird kind of idiom, I guess.
Right.
2 others, who were criminals, were led away to be put to death with him. And when they came to the place that is called the Skull, there they crucified him. And the criminals, one on his right and one on his left.
Yeah, Matthew and Mark gave the Aramaic Golgotha.
Oh, yeah, okay.
But yeah, this is just like a place where people are killed, right? So
Although the Skull is a pretty cool name.
it is a cool name, but there's nothing like specifically like special about it.
It's like Murder Hill.
Now, as for the statement about the tree being green, if they treat the Messiah this way when the tree is well watered and green, what will their plight be when he's withdrawn from them and they suffer for their rejection in the dry period, right? So that's what's being communicated there. And anyways, why don't you continue on?
Will do. And Jesus said, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. And they cast lots to divide his garments, and the people stood by watching. But the rulers scoffed at him, saying, He saved others, let him save himself. If he is the Christ of God, his chosen one. The soldiers also mocked him, coming up and offering him sour wine and saying, If you are the king of the Jews, save yourself. There was also an inscription over him. This is the king of the Jews. Yeah, so lots. I mean, we've seen this stuff before. The mocking, the whole like, you can say, well, these people, but hey, can you save yourself, buddy? No, didn't think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, just really, and they go all out to be like, king of the Jews, look at this guy over here, the Grand Poobah, I guess. Is that the word? Grand Poobah?
I suppose.
Okay. I don't even know what exactly that means, but I've heard it.
Now, see, this written notice that they put together where they say the king of the Jews, usually like a written notice would be made, which just details the crime for which the person is dying. Right. This is this way of mocking Jewish leaders
okay.
and announcing what Jesus had been accused of, being king of the Jews.
One of the criminals who were hanged railed at him, saying, Are you not the Christ? Save yourself and us. But the other rebuked him, saying, Do you not fear God, since you are under the same sentence of condemnation? And we indeed justly... Sorry, wait, what? This is a weird sentence. And we indeed justly, for we are receiving the due reward of our deeds.
And we indeed have been condemned justly.
Yeah.
For we are getting what we deserve for our deeds.
Okay, makes way more sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For we indeed justly. They must have just left out a fucking word here.
Yeah.
Yeah, but this man has done nothing wrong. And he said, Jesus, remember me when you come into your kingdom. And he said to them, Truly I say to you, today you will be with me in paradise.
Now, originally this is referring to the Garden of Eden. Here, the home of the righteous dead prior to the resurrection. Avodzar 18a reports that Rabbi Hanina ben Teradion was arrested for teaching Torah. He was burned to death, wrapped in the scroll of the Torah. His disciples called out, Rabbi, what do you see? He answered, the parchments are being burnt, but the letters are soaring on high. The executioner then said to him, Rabbi, if I raise the flame and take away the tufts of wool from over thy heart, will you cause me to enter into the life to come? Yes, he replied. The executioner then jumped and threw himself into the fire. Wow. And a Bath-kol, a heavenly voice, exclaimed, Rabbi Hananiah and Teradion and the executioner have been assigned to the world to come. So this kind of story about a holy person, like giving permission to go into like the good afterlife to those who are around them at the point of death is something that happens in other Jewish sources as well, just not about Jesus.
Yeah. All right, continuing on here. It was now about the 6th hour, and there was darkness over the whole land until the 9th hour, while the sun's light failed, and the curtain of the temple was torn in two. Then Jesus, calling out with a loud voice, said, "Father, into your hands I commit my spirit." And having said this, he breathed his last word. Now, when the centurion saw what had taken place, he praised God, saying, "Certainly this man was innocent." And all the crowds that had assembled for this spectacle, when they saw what had taken place, returned home, beating their breasts, and all his acquaintances and the women who had followed him from Galilee stood at a distance, watching these things. Saw him die, and now everyone's sad, even though they were celebrating like not even 10 minutes ago,
Right.
or I guess not even a few hours ago, right?
Right. Now, either for having seen God publicly vindicate Jesus by mighty signs from heaven, or out of fear to appease a heavenly judge and thus ward off a divine penalty for having carried out an unjust judgment.
Yeah, so I guess everything darkened and the curtain was torn in two, right? So like those were the signs.
Yeah.
To be like, oh shit, maybe we got the wrong guy.
Right. Now we get into the last section of this chapter.
Yes, we do.
Which is about Jesus' burial. Not much to say about it.
Not much.
But a little bit.
Now there was a man named Joseph from the Jewish town of Arimathea. He was a member of the council, a good and righteous man who had not consented to their decision and action, and he was looking for the kingdom of God. Yeah, look and you will find, right?
Arimathea, likely from the Hebrew Ramathaim, Ramah, near
apparently
Jerusalem.
It has not been, thus far, the city of Arimathea has not been identified with certainty. Scholars have proposed identifying it with Ramathaim Zophim, the birthplace of Samuel, mentioned as Ramathaim or Ramathine in 1 Maccabees. This city is located in Ephraim, about 30 kilometers northwest of Jerusalem, as the crow flies, northeast of Lydda and southeast of Antipatris. Eusebius mentions it under the name of Remphis, or Remphthis. Some have also suggested Ramah and Ramallah, 15 kilometers north of Jerusalem. It is probable that Joseph's ancestors lived in Ramathaim or that he himself had been born there. That he had a tomb in Jerusalem suggests that he lives permanently in the capital.
Mm-hmm. Now, as we've heard from other Gospels, this Joseph of Arimathea is going to get Jesus' body for the burial.
Yeah.
Right.
And Matthew, I think it's pretty obvious that Luke is not writing from not being an eyewitness, because he even says it at the very beginning.
Right. He outright says that he's like
not an eyewitness. He says that he's getting his information from other people.
Right. But on this, Romans didn't typically release the bodies of those whom they crucified for insurrection, but Pilate does it for this official, right? That's the reason that they specify that Joseph of Arimathea is
a member of the council.
A member of the council. It's because it's a political request from a political actor, right? So it is allowed to happen.
All right. He went to Pilate and asked for the body of Jesus. Then he took it down and wrapped it in linen shroud and laid him in a tomb cut in stone where no one had ever yet been laid. It was the day of preparation. The Sabbath was beginning. The women who had come with him from Galilee followed and saw the tomb and how his body was laid. Then they returned and prepared spices and ointments. On the Sabbath, they rested according to the commandment.
Right. And these spices and ointments, these are used for preparing a corpse for
Burial. Yeah.
And that, I think, is the
End of 23.
Of 23. And
Hey, if you guys are enjoying the stream so far, make sure you drop a like, subscribe if you haven't.
And
all
do
that
you
good stuff.
hear something?
I do hear something. Oh no, it's the guy who just died.
Behold, I am your Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, and I want to let all you heathens and sinners know that I support this wonderful episode of Atheist Sunday School. Lawrence and Reuben try their very best to bring you the true glory of the Bible, and they need your help. They have provided links to their Patreon page and other social media just for you. Once again, my name is Jesus Christ, and this is Milwaukee Atheists. The Lord is with them. God bless.
I had a feeling it was you. You're usually stopping by and saying all those nice things to us. We really appreciate those nice things you have to say to us that we totally didn't pay you to say. Didn't happen. We know it's just you coming down from heaven, your throne at the right hand of God. So thank you for doing that for us, Jesus. It's very, very nice.
You stalling?
Little bit.
What's this chapter on?
This is chapter 24. Sorry, is it? Yeah, 2024. Yes, it is 24. I know that.
Confidence was so high, and
it's so low, and then
I don't know.
It's definitely 24. Yeah, that's the last chapter of the day and of Luke.
Finishing it up.
Luckily, because we gotta read it. We got to read kind of the same story one more time. It's going to be different, though, because John is a pretty unique gospel in the sense of the stuff that it contains, which is why it is not one of the synoptic gospels. So that's it's at least going to be different enough where it should be fine. Yeah. But my God.
Oh, hey, he's back.
Yes, my son.
You've returned.
Verily.
I say unto you.
I say unto you that I have.
Oh, wow. Where did you go?
Where didst thou think I went, Teth?
Wow. Deep.
Yeah. You say so.
Yeah, right. Wherever you think I went. Did I go there? I don't know.
Yeah. People of the audience, we are about to finish Luke.
Yeah, we are.
Chapter 24. Now, upon
Oh my God.
the first day of the week, very early in the morning, they came into the sepulchre, bringing the spices which they had prepared, and certain others with them. And they found the stone rolled away from the sepulchre. And they entered in and found not the body of the Lord Jesus. And it came to pass, as they were much perplexed thereabout, behold, two men stood by them in shining garments, and they, as they were afraid, and bowed down their faces to the earth, they said unto them, Why seek ye the living amongst the dead? He is not here, but is risen. Remember how he spake to you when he was yet in Galilee, saying, The Son of Man must be delivered in the hands of sinful men, and be crucified, and on the third day rise again. And they remembered his words.
Yeah, I'm sure that they did. Yeah.
And
They were just reminded.
yeah. And returned from the sepulchre and told all these things unto the 11 and all the rest.
Right, the 11.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, forget that other guy.
Yeah.
He's not welcome anymore.
The other guy got kicked out. All right, it's the 11.
Now, Luke, does he record Judas's death?
I think he.
We'll see.
I could swear he did.
I don't think, because like the arresting scene
Because there
is very brief and then immediately goes into the Sanhedrin scene.
Yeah, I guess he doesn't. Because I remember that there are multiple stories of Judas's death, right? There's one where he kills himself. And then there's one where he's just like in this field. Yeah, this doesn't even explain like the field of blood thing. They don't even, that's not even necessary. It's not even a plot point here.
Right.
So yeah, I forget, I guess what other two gospels were they in? What is it in? Mark and Matthew?
I think so.
Oh, it's in Acts. It's in Acts. Okay. Okay. That makes sense. Because I could swear like there was something Lucan about it. Like, but yeah, it's not in the actual gospel. Okay.
Yeah. It was Mary Magdalene and Joanna and Mary, the mother of James, and the other women that were with him, which told these things unto the apostles. And their words seemed to them as idle tales, and they believed them not. Then arose Peter and ran unto the sepulchre, and stooping down, he beheld linen clothes laid by themselves, and departed, wondering in himself at that which was to come to pass. And behold,
Behold.
two of them went that same day to a village called Emmaus, which was from Jerusalem about 80 furlongs. And they talked together of all these things that had happened. And it came to pass that while they communed together and reasoned, Jesus himself drew near and went with them. But their eyes were holden that they should not know him. And he said unto them, What manner of communications are these that ye have one to another, as ye walk and are sad? And the one of them, whose name was Cleopas, answering said unto him, Art thou only a stranger in Jerusalem? And hast thou not known the things which are come to pass there in these days? And he said unto them, What things? And they said unto him concerning Jesus of Nazareth, which was a prophet, mighty indeed, and word before God and all the people. And how the chief priests and our rulers delivered him to be condemned to death, and have crucified him. But we trusted that it had been he which should have redeemed Israel. And beside all this, today is the 3rd day since these things were done. Yea, and certain women also of our company made us astonished, which were early at the sepulchre. And when they found not his body, they came, saying that they had seen a vision of angels, which said that he was alive. And certain of them which were with us went to the sepulchre, and found it even so as the woman had said, but him they saw not. So, one interesting thing here, that here we have the two women who have these visions of angels. Yeah. Now, I mean, you do have Sarah in Genesis, who has a message from God, but otherwise it's quite uncommon for women to
have a religious thing.
Yeah, have
a religious thing.
Have any kind of religious experience.
Religious
yeah.
thing.
Right.
Any kind of speaking to God, yeah, definitely.
Right. Anyways, I'll continue.
What verse are you at?
I'm at verse 25 now.
Okay.
Then he said unto them, O fools, and slow of heart to believe all that the prophets have spoken, ought not Christ to have suffered these things, and to enter into his glory? And beginning at Moses and all the prophets, he expounded unto them in all the scriptures the things concerning himself. And they drew nigh unto the village whither they went, and he made as though he would have gone further. But they constrained him, saying, Abide with us, for it is toward evening, and the day is far spent. And he went in to tarry with them. Now, I find something interesting here. In many Christian sects, they say that Jesus is present at the beginning of Genesis.
Right, yeah.
Right? Now, it depends on how you take Moses and the statement, beginning at Moses and all the prophets, right? Because this could be interpreted
here,
as...
Just to check through translations here. What exact verse was that?
That was at verse 27.
Okay.
But it says, beginning at Moses and all the prophets, he expounded unto them all the scriptures, the things concerning himself. Now, we could take this as saying that beginning in Exodus, there are references to Jesus, right? We
Sure,
could
sure.
also take this as beginning at the beginning of the Torah. There are things
Right, yeah,
related
because
to
sometimes
Jesus.
it is just called that.
Yeah. So it's not clear exactly what's meant there, but there is an argument to be made that based on this, that those Christians would be incorrect about Jesus' presence at the beginning of Genesis 1:1, right? So that's all I wanted to bring up about that. So he gives them education, and they drew nigh unto the village whither they went. And he made as though he would have gone further, but they constrained him, saying, Abide with us, for it is toward evening, and the day is far spent. And he went in to tarry with them. And it came to pass, as he sat at meat with them, he took bread and blessed it and brake it and gave it to them. And their eyes were opened, and they knew him. And he vanished out of their sight. And they said one to another, Did not our heart burn
Klaus,
within
it's
us?
$2.99.
Thank you, Klaus.
Thank you very much. It converts apparently to 316 in USD,
Wow.
which is amazing. We were
Wonderful.
just talking about that earlier.
Remember that for John.
Yeah, remember that.
Yeah. And they said one to another, Did not our heart burn within us while he talked with us by the way, and while he opened to us the scriptures? And they rose up the same hour and returned to Jerusalem, and found the 11 gathered together, and them that were with them, saying, The Lord is risen indeed, and hath appeared to Simon. And they told what things were done in the way, and how he was known of them in the breaking of bread. And as they thus spake, Jesus himself stood in the midst of them, and saith unto them, Peace be unto you. But they were terrified and affrighted, and supposed that they had seen a spirit.
Yeah, it would be too.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah, seen a ghost.
Yeah.
Hopefully they don't.
Age
Age
you
10 years.
10 years.
Oh, gosh. Yeah.
And he said unto them, Why are ye troubled? And why do thoughts arise in your hearts? Behold,
Behold!
my hands and my feet, that is I myself. Handle me and see, for a spirit hath not flesh and bones, as ye see me have. Now, some Christians might take this to be a reference to the holes in the hands and feet, which are in popular Jesus imagery. But as we have seen in every single crucifixion scene that we have seen thus far, there are no nails being driven through his hands or
their
feet.
hands.
Right, yeah, they'd be bound, yeah.
And if this doesn't happen in John, I'm going to be pissed.
Yeah, but and here's the thing, because all he's doing is just saying, like, you can feel me, like, I'm a real person, I'm not a spirit, you can't touch a spirit.
Right.
So, like, that's all he's really doing there.
Right. And when he had thus spoken, he showed them his hands and his feet. And while they yet believed not for joy and wondered, he said unto them, Have ye here any meat?
So apparently, that verse there, verse 40, is just omitted by a lot of, or at least by some Western manuscripts. So this verse is omitted by certain Western witnesses, perhaps because it seemed unnecessary after verse 39, which I guess is true. But it is also possible that this verse was added in most other witnesses from John 20:20 with a necessary change. The passage in John refers to Jesus' hands and side. This passage refers to his hands and feet. However, if this passage had been added from the account in the Gospel of John, copyists would probably have left some trace of its origin by keeping the side in place of the feet, either here only or in verse 39 also. So he's arguing that it should remain there just fine. But apparently some did remove it because it was repetitive. It would make sense.
Right.
Yeah.
So he asked for some food. And they gave him a piece of a broiled fish and a honeycomb, and he
Thanks,
took
Ellis.
it. Thank you, Ellis.
Ellis with the $9.99. Very much appreciated.
Righteous. And he did eat before them. And he said unto them, These are the words which I spake unto you while I was yet with you, that all things must be fulfilled which were written in the law of Moses, and in the prophets, and in the Psalms concerning me.
So
So apparently not concerning anything else, but it's just concerning Jesus.
So there was just something that I missed here. So for verse, I'm just going to go about a little bit here. Verse 42 there, they gave him a piece of broiled fish. Did you have that? You have that, right? Okay, good.
I said that.
Okay, so
The point of them giving him the fish, one is because he asked for food, but also because ghosts don't eat.
Yeah, also yes. Which is a good point. So here's there's for some reason a good bit of commentary on this one fish. So the disciples offer him, this broiled fish, and yeah, so to explain how fish could be on the menu in a city far from the ocean or lake and without a river, apparently, really intrigued people. So I guess we didn't even really consider that. Of greater interest is the symbolic significance of the fish. It may permit the physical demonstration of the resurrection. Yep. By eating the fish, as the multitudes did with the multiplication of the loaves, Christ eats the same food as his disciples. That's probably the I'm not a ghost thing. So a textual variant. Okay, so Christ eats the same food as the disciples. Luke suggests here the commensality, the fellowship, and even the Eucharist liturgy. A textual variant confirms this hypothesis, or at least demonstrates that there were many people during the first centuries of the Christian era who gave this episode a Eucharist dimension. Indeed, there are a number of manuscripts, versions, and patristic witnesses who add a honeycomb to the portion of fish. Now we know that in antiquity, fish and honey often appeared on the communion tables along with bread and wine, since honey was also regarded as a paradisiacal food. We cannot rule out an eschatological connotation. Furthermore, is Jesus not risen? The weight of this variant, actually a principal variant, meros kai apo melisiu keriu, and a secondary variant, meros kai apo melisiu kerion. So that's a change in that one, in the last word there. Just a different one goes from perhaps in the object or subject, or sorry, the first one's a genitive. So the first one is part of one clause there with the thing that precedes it, while the other one is not. So yeah, the weight of this variant is such that an Italian scholar, Beatrice Cherubini, has written a prize scholarly thesis about it. Among the Greek unical manuscripts for the first variant, I call attention from the 6th century in chronological order. Okay, so I thought he was doing gematria here. He was not. No, he's just listing a bunch of manuscripts.
Okay.
A bunch of unicals, yeah. And talks about their different the different textual families. Among the versions, most of the Old Latin manuscripts and the Vulgate, along with the Curetonian Syriac version, witness to one or the other form of the variant. Yeah, it's crazy. This one variant is apparently huge, and it's in verse 42. Yeah, so you have this piece of fish, and there is yeah. So those words there, and it means, because it's the addition of of the honeycomb,
Right.
in the later manuscripts. Yeah, so he does say that they are just an obvious addition. Yeah.
Okay. Then opened he their understanding, that they might understand the scriptures, and said unto them, Thus it is written, and thus it behooved Christ to suffer, and to rise from the dead on the third day. And that,
Justin with the $5, very
Thank
much
you.
appreciated. But you know what? I guess we shouldn't be thankful because he's giving that to Jesus.
well, what if God was one of us? One of us.
That'd be
Oh,
stupid.
shit.
I'd be unhappy about that.
Yeah, I bet.
If it was me, I'd be unhappy. If it was you, I'd be unhappy. If it was Ruben, I'd be unhappy.
Okay, if it was Chris, we would all be unhappy
Well,
Yeah.
probably.
because it
I
would
don't
be
give a shit.
tyrannical.
No. It's just
You'd be like,
It'd be
I'm
exactly-
doing what's best for you.
Yeah, right.
exactly the same because I'd be like, I don't really know what I'm supposed to do.
Oh, are you saying that God's creation is perfect as is?
Yeah, it's fine.
Wow.
I'm sitting in
And
a
if
room.
he wouldn't even help. That's what he's
the
saying.
room is on fire and,
Wow.
and it's fine. That's fine.
Wow.
We don't need no water.
No, who needs water?
Everyone?
Please drink your water. Stay hydrated.
Yep. Anyways. And that repentance and remission of sins should be preached in his name among all nations, beginning at Jerusalem. And ye are witnesses of these things. And behold,
Behold!
I send the promise of my Father upon you. But tarry ye in the city of Jerusalem until ye be endued with power from on high. And he led them out as far as to Bethany. And he lifted up his hands and blessed them. And it came to pass, while he blessed them, he was parted from them and carried up into heaven.
Wow.
What? Enoch style.
Yeah. Nice. Very nice.
And-
Enoch style, Elijah style.
Yep. And they worshipped him and returned to Jerusalem with great joy and were continually in the temple, praising and blessing God. Amen. And that is the end of Luke.
Yes.
But
Yes,
not
it is.
the end of Luke Acts.
No, we do have we'll eventually get to Acts right after John. We're going to get to the sequel of this book.
So next week we will be going over John. We'll be beginning our coverage of John.
Yeah.
And it is going to be probably slightly different.
Hopefully, I mean,
I think the chapters are shorter, and he doesn't have as much needless detail because sometimes Luke would just go off on a tangent and explain things in a way that was like, no, Luke, that couldn't have been that way.
No, that's because Luke is writing to, who is it, Theodosius?
oh, is that his name?
I
I'm
think
I
so.
forget.
Yeah, the intended audience will be different.
Yeah.
So, final thoughts on the Gospel of Luke.
There was some unique material in there that was it was really only interesting in comparison to other things in the other gospels.
Yeah, it's not quite as bare bones as Mark, but it's not quite as
Theological as Luke. As Matthew.
Right.
Yeah, Matthew was somehow the most tolerable. Maybe it's because it was the first.
Probably
But
for you,
then-
yeah, because you don't like repetition.
No,
So that's probably why.
I'll get used to it because I've
Fortunately-
got another one.
they're
And then we have letters.
honestly, I think their writing styles are unique enough that it isn't quite repetitious, and you guys don't like say the same shit over and over again. You go, we talked about that already, so it isn't as bad as it could be.
Yeah.
You could be like, let's talk about that again. No, you don't do that.
So we should talk about things again.
shut up.
Yeah.
Drive everyone crazy, not just.
So Luke is more of like an ecclesiastical history, right?
Yeah.
It's less of like a theological piece, and it's definitely not bare bones like Mark is. I mean, I'll say that his writing style is better than Mark's.
Yeah, Mark's is the least favorite.
Yeah,
Still.
Mark's sucks.
Fuck Mark.
Yeah. I think the only thing that Mark really has going for him was the formatting of the text itself. Like, because if you do like a bigger kind of analysis of the whole thing,
Yeah,
like you would see it does kind of sandwich together really neatly,
right.
which is cool.
But I think with Luke, like when we first started Luke, we went over a list of all of the things that appear in Luke that don't appear in anywhere else.
Right, and
Yeah.
that's what was the nice part about Luke is he did have a lot of asides and story explanations that others didn't.
Right.
Yeah.
There's a ton of parables and there's a ton of sayings that you just don't get anywhere else. And That was nice. It was a lot nicer than reading Mark. So yeah, I'll give Luke, as far as Gospels go, better than Mark, about the same as Matthew. And I wouldn't rate one higher than the other necessarily. They're just too different.
Yeah, they are. They are pretty different.
Yeah. So
I would be in agreement there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess we don't really have much more to say on that.
I'd give it a 7 out of 10.
Yeah. So,
Fine.
if you enjoyed the stream today, like, comment, subscribe, share this with your friends, family, neighbors. Check us out on Patreon. Got all sorts of rewards.
No, not that one, Chris. Not that one. Choose a different one. Choose a good one.
You could be on the show. You could be entered into a monthly T-shirt giveaway, or you could just buy yourself a T-shirt, such as the T-shirt that is currently being pinned.
Yeah, look at that.
Yeah.
Look at that. Nothing
Thanks.
new under the sun. That's a good shirt right there.
Yeah, another way to support the show is to donate through the super chats, as people have been doing.
They've been tithing, yes.
Yes, and that has to be 10% of your income. But yeah, you could also check us out on our Amazon wish list. Tons of books there.
Yeah, we got a whole bunch. Links are in the description for all of it. You can put books on this table. You can put books on our shelves so we can read them as sources for videos.
Right. And Facebook and Twitter are always free to follow us.
Absolutely. Easy clap.
Yes. So on Friday, we're going to continue with the Apocalypse of Moses, the Life of Adam and Eve 2, Electric Boogaloo. So we hope to see you
Wait,
there.
shouldn't we say the Life of Adam and Eve 2, Electric Boogaloo, the Apocalypse of Moses?
Life of Adam and Eve 2, Electric Boogaloo, the Apocalypse of Moses, Turbo, Championship Edition.
Of course.
Yeah. We'll that's not gonna happen, but we'll try it.
Yeah. Anyways, see you on,
I see you on Friday. Yes, good old
Friday.
Life of Adam and
We'll see you on
Eve.
Friday.
We'll probably maybe
It'll
more
happen.
Satan stuff.
We'll see
Who
you then.
knows?
Bye.